$600 a day? Of course, you can make $600 a day. As a matter of fact, you can make way more than $600 a day mowing lawns. But let's be honest now. You're not gonna just go out there, grab a push mower and string trimmer and a blower, and go out there and make $600 a day. That's not gonna happen. Okay. So I know you've seen a lot of videos that tell you, yeah, I can just, this is how much you can make a day. You can this, you can that. Yo, I'm here to give you the real deal, the truth, my truth. Okay. Like my sis would say, my truth. It takes time. It takes time, commitment, dedication. It takes a lot of work. Again, if you are dedicated to making a certain amount of money, so the first thing I'll tell you guys is know how to price your lawns. Okay? Now, this is for guys that are brand spanking new in the business, not you old heads, the ones that been out there, doing this for a long time. Because you guys think you know everything, so you know you're gonna say, man, Johnny, you don't know what you're talking about, or man, I make way more than that. Of course, you make more than that. I would hope you make more than that, right? Because you've been doing it for a while. And if you have a helper, let me tell you guys, if you're not making 1,200 and more a day with a helper, then guys, you don't know your numbers. Okay, you don't know your potential. I'm gonna tell you right now, straight up, no flim flam. If you have a helper helping you mow lawns and you're making less than $1,200, $1,400 a day, then man, you need to relook at your numbers. You need to really pay attention to what you're doing, because you're paying for labor that you don't need. Now, of course, if you have health issues, you're an old individual with slow mobility, all that good stuff, then of course, I can see that. But if you're a young guy, you don't have any health issues, you got a zero turn, and you popping up these lawns all over the place, and you're not making that type of money, then man, you need to look at your numbers, because you don't need help. What you need is to relook at your numbers, relook at where you're working, your customers. Are you honestly charging what you're supposed to be charging? Those days of a $20 lawn, that stuff is gone, guys. Your gas, your supplies are way more than $20. So let's revamp that. All right, guys. So know your numbers. Okay, you need to know your numbers, guys. You're going out there mowing these yards. There's a lot of ways that you can know your numbers. Some guys do it by the minute. They charge $1 a minute. Some guys charge a blanket price. So the best way for you to know your numbers, man, watch videos, and I have videos as well, how you can come up with your numbers as far as what you should be charging per lawn. That is the first thing. An easy way to know, and again, this is just for you guys that are starting out, right? Check out the big guys that are in your area. Call them up and get estimates for your yard, and see how much they're charging for the yards. You can use that as a guide. Because let's be honest, when you first begin and start this journey, you don't know what to charge. You don't. So, and I was there at one point, but with time, you need to learn how to really, really know how to reach your numbers, right? So yeah, that is the first thing you got to do. Let's say, for instance, right? Let's say you want to make $600 a day or more. One example is 10 lawns at $60 each, right? So if you're doing 10 lawns at $60 each, then you're looking at $600 a day. Now we're talking about gross now, okay? We're not talking about because I know some of you guys are gonna be like, oh man, You got to put in your fuel, your this, your that. I understand. I understand. Okay, we're just talking about gross right now. All right. So that's what you got to do, man. You got to know your numbers, and you got to track your time per lawn. You got to aim at a certain time per lawn. You can't sit around and move like a snail when you get on these properties. You need to move with a sense of urgency, but not to the point where you're doing crappy work, right? You're an individual, you're a go-getter, act like a go-getter. Get on these lawns and do what you're supposed to be doing. Move, move, move. When it's time to rest, between lawns, right? That's the way you got to do it, man. You got to move with a sense of urgency and get these lawns done in a timely manner. You can't sit up and do one lawn for $60 and it's taking you a whole hour. That's a waste of money. That's a waste of time. You're not going to make your goal, because the goal is to make your money and pop smoke. Get out of there. You're not going to sit there one property the whole day and then you're going to turn around and go, man, I only got 4 properties done. Yeah, because you've been slacking. You've been slacking. The same thing, if you have your guys working with you, give them a specific task. Have one guy string trimming, the other one edging, and you mowing. The first one I finish, grab a blower and start blowing. You need to let your guys know exactly what you want them to do. I have videos on SOPs. You got to have SOPs, guys. Standard operation procedures, how you want each individual crew member to accomplish their task and what they do when they get on the property. You got to break it down, man. Make it, simple. Simple. Now, another thing is you need to offer weekly service. Guys, let me tell you that trying to do those bi-weekly properties and these customers that are fertilizing their property, no, in my area, about the beginning of May is when we hit up all the weeklies with the people that are fertilizing. The ones that are not fertilizing, then we keep them about weekly, because the lawn, the southern turf is not growing that fast. But if you have customers that are fertilizing, guys, stop with the bi-weekly stuff, because bi-weekly lawns take longer to get them done because they're taller. So you need to be a little bit more proactive and talk to your customers. Let them know, listen, I need to come weekly because your grass is growing too fast. And it takes me longer. You have to sometimes double cut the yard. You have to triple cut the yard. So, those are things that you got to kind of look at when you're doing these type of lawns, Another one is upselling. Guys, how many times have you got to your customer's property and their bush need trimming? The mulch bed, their mulch bed needs to be clean. They have leaf and they need leaf cleanup. They need edging, so on and so forth. All you have to do is take a picture and text it to the customer, and text it with a price. And the customer will say yeah or nay. Simple. A no is not going to hurt you. Now, if you send it to them and you send them a price, and they say we'll get it done sometime in a couple of weeks, then you let them know that the price will change because the shrub will grow more and it'll take you longer to get that task accomplished. It's all about communication. Communication and being proactive. Being proactive at helping customers out, because that's what you're doing. You are there to assist the customers. Okay? The reason you're mowing their lawn, you're trimming their shrubs and doing work for them is because they don't want to do it or they can't do it. Right? They can't do it and they have the income to pay you. So if you see things that need to be done, you're leaving money on the table. You're leaving money behind. So get proactive, get hot. That's what I say. When I say get hot, I mean you need to start moving. You need to get hot. Okay, those are old military terms. Same thing when I say pop smoke. Pop smoke is, it's time for you to go. That's an old military term. All right. Another thing that you can do is get commercial property accounts, man. Commercial property accounts are out there. All you have to do is bid them. You got small dentists, you have small, gas stations, whatever the case might be. A commercial property doesn't always have to be a big, huge place. And that's the perception that a lot of us have, that the commercial property has to be something big, huge, humongous. Nah. Commercial property is anything that is not a residential home, not a house. And those you write your contracts for the year, and during the wintertime you're still getting paid because you took that whole amount and you broke it down in 12 equal payments. And you show up during the wintertime and you do what you have to do. In my area, we do cleanups, blow the area, make the area look presentable, because they're commercial properties, and people, customers are coming to their establishment and they want their establishment looking good. So of course they have to have the place looking good, because they want business. Another one is get commercial, the right equipment. You need to get a stand-on or zero turn. Guys, if you're push mowing, you're not going to be making as much money unless you're in California, one of those places where everybody have those small little teeny cookie cutter places. A push mower is going to kind of slow you down. Okay, I'd rather take a zero turn and go through that property 2-3 swipes, trim it up, edge it up, blow it, and leave, than sit there with a push mower and spend 30 minutes to 45 minutes push mowing a yard when you could have got it done quicker, right? So in other words, you need to invest in the right equipment to get the job done. Look at all your properties and come up with a right deck size. Right now, a 48-inch will mow 97 to 98% of all my properties, front and back. Only have not even about 3 to 4 properties that I have to use my 32 or my 36. But that's the way you do it. Look at your properties and get the right equipment to make your job faster, guys. That's the way you do it. Now another one is get paid faster, guys. Those days of running your customers down for your money are over. There's easy way to get your money, man. You send them PayPal invoice. You got Cash App. You have all these software that offers card on file. Now somebody said, I only take card on files. No, I don't. I make it easy for the customer. Okay? If the customer want to pay me Cash App, if they want to pay me PayPal invoice, whatever they want to do, yes, of course, I will offer them, card and file first. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to turn any money down as long as I'm getting paid. Now, the moment I start calling you for my money, guess what? You're going to be on that list. That list that basically when I find somebody else, I'm going to drop you. Right? Because I hate running people down for my money, and you shouldn't do that. That's a waste of time. And in these days and age, guys, come on now. No one should be telling you, well, I'm not comfortable inserting my credit card into the software. You know what I mean? Now, unless you don't look professional. And that's another thing. You need to look the part. You're walking around here looking dirty. And yeah, we know it is a dirty job, guys, but it doesn't mean that you have to look, like you're struggling. If you look like you're struggling, your equipment is dirty, you're dirty, everything you have is dirty, and you show up to my house, the first thing I'm going to say, man, I'm not paying that guy no doggone $80 to mow my yard. I mean, it's a human trait. So, get mad. I understand. You can get mad all you want to. But at the end of the day, it's all about perception. It's all about perception. You show up, and you look presentable. And I'm not talking about, the middle of the day, I'm talking about first thing in the morning, you show up and you're dirty. What the heck, man? You shouldn't be like that. You should have a set amount of pants, set amount of shirts, and make it your uniform. You should be changing your uniform every day. That's what we're doing. We're business. We're trying to make money. That's what we do, man. That's what we do. Okay? So guys, remember, if you're solo, focus on route density, man. You need to focus on the route density. You need to focus on getting as many customers as you can in one area with Johnny. It's kind of hard. Of course, it's hard. If it was easy, we all would have it. We all would do it. It's hard, but you have to keep pushing to get it done. You know, it took me years and years to get to that one point where all my customers are in the same location. You know, it takes commitment, dedication, it takes motivation. You know, this stuff is not as easy as it is portrayed. You know, when you're looking at what I have and what I'm doing, you're looking at 13, 14 years. You know, you're just starting out. You know, you shouldn't covet what I have, because this took a lot of years, a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of sponsors. Okay? Because some of this stuff, guys, I won't pay for this stuff. Hell no. Heck no. Some of this stuff is expensive, and I understand. It's expensive, but it pays off, you know, at the end. That's why you need to strive to get what you want. You know? That's the way it goes, man. But yeah, guys, hey, listen. Like, follow, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff, man. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of this video. And yeah, see you guys tomorrow, man. Enjoy, alright? Smoke. Peace.